I definitely did not just film this entire video. I actually remembered to take thumbnail photos, realized I had lipstick on my teeth, and decided to refilm because that would be stupid. So I'm coming at you with a project pan update. This is my first update of my 2021 rolling project hen pan. I do have a little housekeeping thing that I wanted to talk about that's just going to be a little bit of a change to the structure of this project. So if you're not interested in hearing that little tangent, adjustment, whatever you want to call it, and you just want to see my items, I will have a timestamp probably somewhere over here that you can skip to should you so desire. And for those of you guys who do want to hear about this change, I'm going to scooch forward a little bit and we'll talk about it. So while I was in the process of filming, editing, and doing general, what my dad would call spreadsheet management on my inventory spreadsheet, I noticed that I had about 21 total items that I had flagged as first priority to use up this year. So if anybody hasn't seen that video and they're at all interested, I will have that linked up in the cards and you can go check it out. I sort of go into detail about my spreadsheet and how I organize things. Some of those numbers might have fluctuated a little bit just because I've found some things, gotten rid of some things, added some things, what have you, but it's around 21 items. And a lot of those were either already in this project or were items like skincare that I don't really feel like I need an extra push to use up because I'm already using them multiple times a week. What I'm getting at here is that I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of merge my 21 and 21 edition with this project as well, because there is a lot of overlap and realistically everything that I would have put in that was already either in this project or already flagged as like a roll-in, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to be doing is at the end of every update I'm going to be just adding like a little counter of the items that I have finished that were sort of part of that initial round of 21 items that I do want to finish this year. Let's talk about my items. So I'm going to start off with my Aussie Sprunch spray. I was hoping to have this about halfway finish what was left, and as you can see I did. I've kind of been slacking on my hair routine just because I've been sort of adjusting to waking up an hour or two earlier than I have for the last few years, so that's been a little bit of a change to my sleep schedule. So I've had a few more rush mornings than I would like, and I don't know for those of you guys who have wavy hair if yours is as fussy as mine is, but it needs some encouragement in order to be its best self, I guess like all of us do. So I find that I have to style my hair when it's a certain window of wet and it needs a little bit of encouragement in order to look its best. And just because I've had a few rush mornings where I've just wanted to get my hair washed before class but haven't had time to wait for it to dry before I style it, it's mostly just dried straight. And so when that happens, I don't really use this product because it kind of makes my hair crunchy, which, you know, it's not 2008, so I'm not like looking for that. I haven't used this as much as I'd hoped to, but I definitely still made progress on it, and I feel like, okay, I just realized that this looks like I have messy hair, which would be on brand. So I'm just going to scooch over here. Yeah, so I didn't use this as much as I'd hoped, but I still made pretty good progress. I wasn't expecting or even trying to finish it this month, but I am thinking that it can probably be gone by next month, which I would be very happy about because I would love to see the back of this one, but I'm so close to being done that I just can't justify getting rid of it if I could finish it, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's my Sprunch spray situation. Then I'm going to talk about my first empty of this project, which I'm very happy about. I finished up my Pacifica self tanner. I'm orange, but it took me 4 uses and it's done. So I'm going to be rolling this out, and in its place I'm going to be rolling in the Body Shop Shea Butter Lotion. As you can see, this is more or less finished. So I think what I'm going to do probably after I film this is just cut this open with an X-Acto knife and decant it into an empty container and just use it up that way, because I know that if I just cut it open and leave it, it'll dry out, and I do want to finish it. So that'll be rolling in, and I'm thinking there's not much left in there, so I'm thinking that this could probably maybe be done by next month. We'll see. Okay, so those are my personal care items. So let's get into the more exciting items, I guess my makeup stuff. So I was hoping that this Nars Radiant Tinted Moisturizer would be done. It's not. This is endless, and I have to use a lot of it too because I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually very pale, but also quite olive. So in order to get a decent amount of coverage and use this, I have to put quite a bit of it on my face and also take it pretty far down my neck so that it disappears under whatever high-necked article of clothing that I'm wearing with this, but it's still not done and it's still coming out like pretty easily. So probably about this much left. So I'm hoping, okay, it's definitely below here. I would say that I probably have about this much left. So once it gets to a point where I can bend it all the way forward and nothing comes out, I'm gonna call this done, because it's one of those items where I think if I cut it open, I'm probably not going to have enough to cover what needs to be covered anyway. So like I said, I totally thought I was gonna have it done by this update, but I did only wear it 6 times, including today, so I guess I can't be that surprised, but I'm hoping to have it done next time. We'll see. Next up would be my Covergirl Coverstick. So this is one of those products that is really hard to tell if you've actually made a dent in it on like a monthly basis, but if you look at it over a longer time period, you can see that you've used it. So I think I do notice a slight difference, but this is probably still going to be in for another few months. I use this as an eye base most days because on my skin that's really the only thing that it's good for, and the occasional blemish cover up. So I am okay with this being in for the next few months, as long as I'd like to have it done by the end of the winter semester. So we'll see how that goes, but as long as I'm just using it regularly, I'm fine with that. I've got my Colourpop Supershock in between the sheets, and I haven't really been focused on expanding the pan on this, although I think I have a little bit. I've mainly just been sort of flattening it down, and I haven't been using this as much just because it's one of those ones that I find with cream products, especially stiffer ones like this, they do take a little bit more work to blend out and look even. And like I said, I've had some rush mornings, so I've usually just been looking for something that I can throw on and go without having to spend like 5 minutes going at it with a beauty blender in order to get it to look even. So, but I definitely have reached for it a fair few times. I didn't track usage on this one just because I know it's going to be in for a while. Maybe I should have, but too late now and I'm not about to start. But yeah, I am happy with the progress, although hopefully next month, now that I'm adjusted to being awake at like 7:30 in the morning, hopefully I'll have a little bit more progress to share with you next month. My Merry Loumanizer. I actually do feel like you can actually see the progress on this pretty well. So when I first rolled this in last month, I'd just repressed it and I had a bunch of like crumbles around the outside of the pan, and so I worked on cleaning those out first, and then I have managed to get it pretty much almost entirely within the outer ring. So I feel like this is looking less scary than it did at the beginning. I did drop it last night, and the only little bit that broke off was like this bit here, so clearly my repressing job was better this time around, because I picked it up and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have highlighter all over my floor, and then it was just like this tiny little piece. So that was a fun little 8 p.m. adrenaline rush that I didn't necessarily need. I'm just gonna continue using this as my daily highlight, but this is looking like it might be out maybe a little bit sooner than I thought. Alrighty, then I have got, this one's really hard to see progress on, but just know that I have been using it most days, and it is getting pretty hard to get product out on. This formula doesn't really show windows that easily, so it's hard to tell, but basically as soon as this gets to be more of a hassle to put on my lips and I can't get an even coating, I will call this done. It might be by the end of the month, we'll see. I think this does go quite well with my palette of the month and other items, so I think I'll probably get a lot of use out of this. I have noticed that it does take like multiple dips and a lot of effort to get things looking even, and it kind of like it's dried up enough and there's so little left that it kind of like skips on my lips, so we'll see. That could be gone by the end of the month. And then my eyeshadows. I'm going to try not to spoil my Pan Those Eyeshadows update because that won't be going up for about a week or so, but I did actually, this is my second goal. So I rolled in a bunch of blues into my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and then I picked a couple of other blues to complement those as part of this project. So I did actually hit pan on one of them. I hit pan on Saltwater right here after 7 additional uses. And then Oasis has a pretty decent dip on it. I would say I'm probably about halfway to pan on that, and I find that it is one of those shades that because it's quite light and not very pigmented, you do have to dip in and go in. So I'm hoping that I could maybe have that panned by the end of the month. So what I'm going to roll in to replace Saltwater is going to be Abyss, which is this matte navy blue color. You're going to be able to tell better. There is a very slight dip in Abyss, but not a whole lot. But it is one of those shades that does take a little bit of building up for it to like show up the color that it actually is in the pan. So I think that this could be in for a while, and I don't necessarily need to pan it, especially because I think I'm probably going to have pan in Drip Drip as well as Oasis by the end of the month, and I'm honestly getting pretty tired of blue eyeshadows. It's not a color that I feel particularly comfortable in, and it's not one that I would select for daily use. So just because I want to not get completely sick of blues, I think I'm just going to set my target usage for Abyss for 20 uses, and then that should get me to pan on Oasis and Drip Drip, and then I guess we'll reassess from there. My last item is also going to be a rollout. I did not hit goal, but I talked in my intro about how when I rolled this nail polish in that I wasn't sure that I would be able to get to my target 5 uses, and I didn't. I got to 2, and this is getting quite low but also very thick and gloopy, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see my Sharpie markings on here, but I started off with it at about here, and I've used it twice and it's down to about here. So I think I am going to be rolling this out just for my own sanity, because when I did my nails with this the other day, I was good for like my first 3 nails, and then things were looking like a mess for the rest of them, and the second coat was just really frustrating. And I mean, I have a pretty good top coat, but like my thumbnail is looking incredibly busted just because this is so thick. So I think I'm just going to be rolling that out, and I'm not going to get rid of it yet. I am just going to be on the hunt for nail polish thinner, and I would love to be able to thin this out and continue using it and actually finish it. I'm not ready to let go of it yet, especially because it's a hard color to find, but I'm definitely going to be taking it out of this project. So in its place, I'm going to roll in Revlon's Charmer, and this was settled and then I moved it around, but it's at about here. I'm gonna set my goal for this for 4 uses. This is definitely getting thicker, and I noticed that the last couple of times I've used it, it's gotten, like, it takes a while to dry, but I find that Revlon polishes tend to stay thinned out and usable for much longer than anything else in my collection. So these date back, that one for sure dates back to, I think, grade 12. I'm just going to set this for 5 uses. We'll see how that goes. I think it's a nice color for Valentine's Day and early spring and such. That concludes my items recap for this month. Okay, so now that I'm done with talking about my progress for the month, I'm going to talk about my progress on my 21 to finish items. So I have finished 2. The Pacifica Sunless Tanner was one of them, and then I also finished up a NYX lip liner. I didn't technically, like, organically finish it, but I found that it was getting really difficult to sharpen properly, and so I did use it as much as I could, and then it was kind of getting pretty mangled in my sharpener, so I did decide to just get rid of it. I only had about this much left, so I'm gonna call that finished as part of this project, but I am at 2 out of 21, which is about 9.5% to my target. So I'm hoping that I will have a few more items to join my initial 2 next month. After last month, I am making absolutely no promises. I'm always looking for feedback on how to improve, so I'm curious to see what you guys think about having the sort of hybrid 21 and 21 / rolling 10 pan. So if you like it, if you don't like it, I would love to hear from you, so please don't be shy about letting me know. So that is going to wrap it up for this one. If you enjoy my face and you want to see more of it, I aim to upload 1 video a week, usually around the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on how cooperative my internet feels like being. And if there's a bonus video, that usually comes out on the weekends. If you're interested, I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!